Hi and welcome to World Beyond 2030. If you're new to the channel, I would ask that you subscribe. Also click the notification button and give it a like. I've noticed over the last couple of videos that I've done that about 78% of those who actually view the channel is actually not a subscriber. So if you'll subscribe, that also helps me. But also, I was asked by several in the comments of, can you talk about other parts of the world besides the States? And I would say that if you are located somewhere else outside the U.S., I can't see that. So if you can actually put the country in which you're viewing this video from, that would actually help me know where the viewers are from, and I will focus on some of those predictions as well. But in this video, we're going to actually focus on the next 18 to 20 months, and then after I do those predictions, then we're going to get into some actually Q&As of where people have sent me some emails basically saying, hey, can you explain certain things? And so I'm going to get into that. But before I do, I'm going to mention that my spirit guides have actually, I'm going to say, just let me know of two individuals who are going to be viewing this video. One is, and they know who they are, one is actually going to cast shade on this video. And I could really care less. It's not going to bother me at all. But the second one is apparently I have or will have a stalker. And the fact that I'll have someone stalking is, I'm going to say you can stalk somebody else. I know who you are. Don't know you personally, but I know the three-letter agency that you are from, and I am going to say that my information comes from not only the Divine but also the Galactic Council, the Galactic Federation, the Pleiadians, and the Octarians. Having said that, I'm going to, everything that I say here is the truth, and I'm going to be revealing some of this, and I know why you're going to be here, because toward the end of this video, after I get done with the predictions over the next 18-20 months, I'm going to talk about something I've been holding for the last 2 years, and my spirit guides have mentioned it's time for me to basically talk about it. So, and it's going to be exposing the truth behind not only the Iraq war, but why we're actually going into Iran. And so I can basically say, for those who are going to stick around to the end, buckle up, Buttercup, we're going to take a ride. And so, having said that, let me get into, first of all, the predictions of the next 18 to 20 months, and then we'll kind of get into that. I'm going to split this video into two because this video is going to be long if not, and I'm going to, there's a lot of questions that a lot of people have asked, and so I'm going to basically stick in or stick around that about the Iraq and Iran war first, and then we'll close it, and then we'll do a part two on the other questions, which will get into, somebody had actually asked me too about if I would share my first few months into the awakening, and I am going to do that, but it'll probably lead into that part two. And there's other things there that you also want to watch. But if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Also click the notification button. And again, let me know where you're viewing this video from. But having said that, let's go ahead and get into the next 18 to 20 months of predictions. And then we'll get into what I mentioned before. But the first thing that comes is the Epstein files. You're already seeing some of the arrest happening, what I'm understanding is there is going to be a lot of arrest. And if you're wondering if Donald Trump is part of this, Donald Trump is not part of it. But there are many that will be arrested over, it looks like over the next, throughout this year, definitely. So just get ready for more exposure to those who were tied into Jeffrey Epstein. That would be the first thing. Greenland. Greenland, it appears as though, and it appears as though there's 3 different countries that are after Greenland. And why, let me ask, why is Greenland so important? It is the New World headquarters. What do you mean by that? It's the birthplace of the New World that we're entering into, the 5th, just part of the 5th dimension. Okay, so there is, yeah, it's not part of the 5th dimension, but it is the headquarters for the new Earth, the new world that we're going to be entering into. Is there any other information? There's going to be some things that are going to be revealed that are underneath the ice. There is something that is going to be, there's something about a glacier that has recently melted, that in that glacier there's something there that will be revealed soon. I don't know what that is. I'm just now getting that information, so I don't know what that would be. But Greenland is apparently a big key to the direction the world is headed. So that is why, and U.S. is not the only country that's after it. Yellowstone. There is something that's going to happen in Yellowstone. It's not major. It's not like there's going to be an eruption. We're leading into an eruption, but it's not going to be like Mount Etna. Mount Etna is going to erupt. Okay. There's going to be close to 100 deaths associated with that eruption. What I'm understanding is a lot of the individuals there have already migrated away from that area, and there's about 100 people that are going to be that will lose their lives in that. So it's not as many as most would think. What I will say is that with the Yellowstone, you'll know when Yellowstone is getting ready, because a lot of the animals around the area will start to migrate away from that area, is what I'm understanding by the Palladians. So just know that That is going to be happening, sounds like here soon. Don't know exactly what the extent is going to be, but it's not going to be one big blow off. I think it's just the beginning of stages of something. So just be aware that there's something that's going to be happening in that area. And Mount Etna, yeah, that's over in Italy, by the way, for those who are tuning in. Over the next year, you're going to see or hear about more UFO sightings. We're leading into that, into the major or the big one that'll happen in 2030, but there's going to be some more sightings, but there's going to be distractions away from that, which is more war. And I say that Russia and Ukraine war, that is not going to stop anytime soon. I think I have mentioned in a previous video, if you haven't seen those previous videos of the predictions between 2025 and 2030, I would invite you to go back and watch those videos. But what I'm understanding is Russia is going to invade into some other countries around Ukraine. NATO's behind it, so this is part of the distractions to get away from the UFO sightings. So just know that there's going to be more of those that are going to be coming about. As far as the markets are concerned over the next year to 2 years, I think a lot of people are thinking that, you know, this is the big market crash. The markets this year is going to go sideways. So is the crypto market as well. So I wouldn't really anticipate much in the markets as far as any kind of recession or, in this case, depression. There's not going to be that. It's going to be more of a sideways. I think your depression we'll get into in part 2 of this video's series that we're going to be doing. I will save that until then, but yeah, there's something big that's coming in that. But right now, you know, not to worry. I think we're safe there. And talking about cryptocurrency market, I'll save that, but until we get into the next video. Flooding. There's major flooding in Europe, parts of Europe. New Mexico. There's going to be some flooding in these areas. So that's something that I think you need to, and also earthquakes. It's going to be happening, around the world. A lot of plate shifting and movement that's going to be happening, and these plate shifts are going to get more and more intense a couple of decades out. But just know that this is just the beginning. So but yeah, the flooding, yeah, just know that there's going to be flooding around. There is a financial reset that is coming about. I had mentioned in my previous videos about Bank of America being hacked, and that's going to happen, I think, well, that'll happen next year, 2027. But there is a mid-size bank that is going to be hacked, or it looks like a cyber attack. Yeah, cyber attack. Or is it fails? Yeah, there's something about a mid-sized bank that's going to require. Looks like they're going to do another bailout. They're doing another bailout. They're going to. And let me explain something about these bailouts too. This will not continue. I mentioned in my previous video that cryptocurrency is here to stay, and I mentioned the 4 coins that are pretty safe coins to be in over the next decade. Banks, if you've got money in banks, you need to really, I would say, I don't have any bank accounts simply because it's not safe. So if you are banking on banks, you're in for a rude awakening. The Federal Reserve is going to also be rolling out, I think it's called the Fed One coin. And just know that 2/3 of Americans are going to reject the Fed One coin. So having said that, most people are going to get a little leery of the banks as we move forward, of course, into 2027. So I would bank on crypto. Of course, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, XRP. I'll give you a little insight. Cardano's market cap will exceed Bitcoin's market cap at some point in the future. So just know that. Bitcoin will take a dip, which will cause that flip with Cardano. But Cardano, that means Cardano's got a lot of growth potential. So letting you know that as well. Commercial real estate collapse. There's a major company within the stock market that is going to collapse and have to restructure within the next 18 to 20 months. That means there's too many corporate or commercial buildings that are vacant, and which is causing this. So just know that that's coming. There's going to be some cyber attacks in the airlines, in the telecommunications, the power grid, the airlines, the power grid, telecommunications. There's going to be some cyber attacks in this area, which means that I don't know if it's cyber attacks. Oh, no, wait. Is this got to do with the solar flash? Unconfirmed. Yeah, there's something that's going to happen here with those. Just know that these, there's something that's going to happen here with that. Just know that. But anyway, healthcare. You're going to start seeing, which I have mentioned this before in a previous video. I want to say the one I did almost a year ago. I talked about the medical industry and how the medical industry would collapse. Having said that, in-home medical care is going to really get ramped up here. So if you're looking for, and it's interesting too, this kind of goes back to, I've noticed over the last year, there's a couple of things that I remember in, I want to say it was March of last year when I did the first prediction video, and if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that video. I had mentioned about the restaurant industry collapsing. Let me just, which I'll probably get into the part 2 on this video, but the restaurant industry, our world, what we know today, is so different. And I'm going to say probably the next 5 to 8 years, what we take for granted today is going to change. The restaurant industry, we're going to have maybe a third of the restaurants even around that we have today. Let's just say a decade from now. It's going to be so different. Most people will be an entrepreneur. So you'll have your own businesses. There's so many things that's coming. So just know that this medical industry, the in-home visitations are coming. And so if you're in the healthcare industry, I would greatly advise you to take a look into that, because it's going to be big. And so these are things that are coming, and we'll get into some more things, of course, in the part 2 of this video. Having said that, I was asked to explain, and I wrote notes again. I was actually asked to talk about the Iraq War and how it relates to the Iran War. This kind of also gets into 9/11. Yeah, gets into all this. So let's kind of dive into that for a second. Where do I start with this? What we're being told on the media right now with the Iran war is not true. A lot of this information that I'm going to be talking about here is coming from the Palladians and the Galactic Federation, Ashtar. So where do I start with this? Let's go with the Iraq War, or actually, yeah, the Iraq War. A lot of people don't understand how deep the CIA and other agencies within our government are tied into the supernatural and the remote viewing. A lot of remote viewing goes on. They are also in communications with extraterrestrials. All of this is going to come out soon. I don't know exactly when, but it's coming. Having said that, there was something that the CIA was instructed to get in Iraq. So let's kind of go down this rabbit hole for a second. The CIA had to get into Iraq, and the owner of, there was a new owner to the trade towers that collapsed in 9/11. The new owner was told that he had to get the asbestos out of those buildings. The cost on that was in the hundreds of millions of dollars, close to $1 billion. I think he was probably quoted over $1 billion to get that done. And for him, it was easier for him to basically demolish the buildings and rebuild. And it was actually the biggest insurance heist in the world. But it was pulled off by something that the CIA had collaborated with. What occurred was the CIA needed to get into Iraq. And I'll get into that in just a second. But they had to have a reason. So with that, they collaborated with multiple countries in a plan to collapse the World Trade Towers. Just going to leave it there with that, because this video is not about the 9/11. Just know that what we've been told about 9/11 was a lie. But what is in Iraq was never nuclear. Never was. It was a lie. And having said that, I'm going to take you down the rabbit hole here. And I'm going to also, you're going to see a few clips that I'm going to put up as well as I go through this. But we entered, or the U.S. invaded Iraq on March the 19th, 2003. During this invasion, the CIA and the U.S. Army needed to get into the Baghdad Museum. There were clay tablets that they had to get their hands on. And on April the 10th, which was less than 1 month, actually 21 days to be exact, they looted the Baghdad Museum from the invasion itself to get those tablets. Those tablets, the extraterrestrials had mentioned to the CIA that the tomb of Gilgamesh had something there that they needed. I don't know exactly what that is, but it was pretty powerful. And I'll get to that in just a second. So Yeah, so I'm listening as I'm listening as I am talking as well. It's I need to multitask a little bit better. But so April 10th, we go into and we loot with an architect. We loot the Baghdad Museum to get those tablets. And on April the 29th, 2003, a German archaeologist was sent to get Gilgamesh's tomb, or to find it. Once they found the tomb, the U.S. Army put their first base on that tomb. The U.S. military, or U.S. Army, is who excavated the tomb of Gilgamesh. And this goes back to Genesis in the Bible. What was in that tomb had to do with what the CIA needed to get their hands on. Whatever that was, and this is mind-blowing. This is old technology that was pre-flood. So whatever they took in Gilgamesh's tomb activated something in Romania. And what I'm understanding is, and I'm going to put this up, you'll see the pictures of the Romanian Sphinx. The Romanian Sphinx, and a lot of people for years had just said, yeah, it's a rock that basically looks like a face. And the Palladians had mentioned to me that it was a sphinx that has been weather eroded. But this Romanian Sphinx is, if I remember correctly, it is on the Basiji Mountains. But there were two chambers underneath the Romanian Sphinx. Once they got whatever was in Gilgamesh's tomb, activated something below the Romanian Sphinx. So the U.S. military shows up in Romania. And when they do, the president of Romania has no or had no clue, and completely did not understand why the U.S. military was in Romania. And we had, or I say we, the CIA, along with some other organizations or agencies within our government, needed to excavate and take whatever was in the two chambers underneath. Now, what I'm understanding by the Palladians is that there were crystals, and the old technology is everything was stored on crystals. Where we store today things in the cloud, on computers or whatnot, they stored things on crystals. Crystals are energy. Everything is energy in this world. So understand, even money is energy. So what they did, there was a lot of things that were activated when they went into these chambers underneath the Romanian Sphinx. And there was also two tunnels as well. I'll get into that in just a second. But there was, what I'm understanding by the Palladians, there was something that was projected that showed star maps in the history of the universe and the Earth. So when you look at the history, let me back up here just for a second. if you have found out that there are other life forms and civilizations in our universe, and you know that they're coming, you'll do anything to get this information and to get what you need to understand who these beings are. And that is what has occurred in the Iraq War. A lot of lives were lost over this. When they took what was in these chambers below the Romanian Sphinx, there was also 2 tunnels, and these 2 tunnels actually led to vortexes, what I'm understanding, wormholes, in which basically one went in, if you went through it, you would actually end, or portals, known as portals, you would end up in the in Egypt, in the pyramids. The other one, you would end up in the Himalayas. So there are a lot of things in this earth, or even today, we have no clue, or that it's going to be revealed. It will, I'm assuming it's going to be revealed in my lifetime, but those who are born, I guess, let's just say in the 90s, 2000, your world is so different from the world that I grew up in, and of course my parents, or the boomers age, grew up in. So it's so different, but there's going to be some discoveries along the way that it's going to blow your mind. There are things, I know I mentioned about Skinwalker Ranch, the show that you see on the History Channel. They're dealing with a portal there. Not just that, it's underneath Skinwalker Ranch. There are tunnels that leads to all parts of the world. They go for, miles. So these government agencies know about it and have hid this information from us, just like the aliens that are, or the extraterrestrials that'll be coming. They have hid that information from us, just like the Iraq War. They hid that information from us. You're going to find out that the truth is coming. You're going to understand that religions, everything, there's so much that was hidden over the years that the truth is coming out, the light is coming out, and there's no stopping it. So let's kind of break this down for a second. So on March the 19th of 2003, we invade Iraq. April 10th of 2003, we loot the Baghdad Museum. April 29th, we excavate Gilgamesh's tomb in northern Iraq. In May of 2003, I don't have an exact date on that, is when our military showed up in Romania and started basically taking what was in the 2 chambers underneath the Romanian Sphinx. Now, what does the Romanian government get out of this? Less than 1 year later, the Romanian government becomes a NATO member. So, in exchange of us taking what was underneath the Romanian Sphinx, they become a NATO member. This goes back to the reason why NASA owns the interior rights of the pyramids. All of this is intertwined together. So now, this is leading into Iran. Why are we wanting to go into Iran so desperately? At the same time that Gilgamesh was roaming this earth, there was another civilization that was in Iran. And it was referred to as and it's R-A-M-A, so I'm assuming that is Rama Empire. That was between 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. That empire was there. Those two, or those mountains that the U.S. government bombed in Iran in 2024, had nothing to do with nuclear. Those are mines that were mined over 6,000 years ago. And this information is coming from the Galactic Federation from Ashtar. So, whatever is in those hills has to do with the empire that existed when Gilgamesh was around. So the whole thing about nuclear, none of it has nothing to do with it. We're there to gather something, whatever that is. The government just needs to come out and just say it. Stop leading us down some fable story. When you look at, let's get into the ley lines, for instance. Everywhere there are ley lines, and I'm going to put this up real quick. These are ley lines across our world. And everywhere the ley line crosses, there's something there. Something of great value that our government, or the U.S. government, and their agencies are wanting to get their hands on. That has to do with the past. So if you look at where Egypt is, you'll notice the number 1. That is a ley line crossing. If you look at where Iran is, that is number 12. I think it's number 12. I'm not looking at it, but there's a number there. It's right over Iran. There's something there that they're after. If you look at England, where the headstones are, is a ley line crossing. If you look toward the States, and you look at where the Bahamas is a ley line crossing. And matter of fact, that would stretch all the way that encompasses not only the Bahamas, but also Bermuda. It's the Bermuda Triangle, and it also encompasses Florida as well. But that is where Atlantis was. You'll notice that there's ley lines in a crossing in Hawaii. You'll notice that there is a ley line crossing in Alaska. A lot of people don't know this, so I'm going to break it to you now, that there is a pyramid that is within the mountains of Alaska, and it is called the Black Pyramid. And this black stone is not from Alaska. What that is made of, but this is all hush hush. The government needs to come out and tell us what they know. There's a lot of things they're hiding here, and you'll notice also, I think Yellowstone is a ley line crossing. You could go down into some of the civilizations that used to exist down in South America or Mexico, the Maya, and the other civilizations of the past. You can go down through that and basically just look at where ley line crossings are. There's something of interest at each one of these. There are pyramids in the bottom of the ocean. And so, matter of fact, a lot of people just think that there's pyramids just in Egypt. There's thousands of pyramids all over the earth, and matter of fact, there's hundreds of them in China that we don't hear much about. So just know that when we go into Iran, it's going to be curious to know what they come out with. But they want to get into Iran really, really bad, and it has to do something with this empire that used to exist. There's something there that has to. This all ties back to the extraterrestrials and the technology that they used over 10,000 years ago, pre-flood. This dates about the same time as when Atlantis was around. And I know that Atlantis used also crystals to store data. AI is not new. AI existed then. We're going to talk about Cern for a second. I was told by the Galactic Federation about Cern and the dangers that Cern is doing as well. This is probably why I've got a stalker on this video. Not only because of what I just mentioned, but definitely Cern. Cern, if you're not familiar with it, Cern is located in at Lake Geneva, near Switzerland, or in Switzerland. If you're not, I've got some images up here. Underneath, buried beneath or in the ground, there is a 17-mile basically tube that they created and I remember when they built this, because I remember when they announced it, what they were planning to do, and I don't have a year in front of me. I'm going to say probably 15-20 years ago is when they built this or finished this tube. But it's where they take two atoms, and they slingshot it at each other to see what happens when they hit each other. And I remember their concern was it would create a black hole. And if it did create a black hole, then would, you know, how much of Earth would be sucked through it, right? Why they thought it would create a black hole, I'm not sure. However, or maybe that was the distraction. However, this technology is extraterrestrial. It was given to our government, and I'm going to tell you that not all extraterrestrials are good. Not all. You know, I've mentioned in the previous video that there are many different civilizations out there. Just in the Galactic Council, there is over 452 different members, and we're not part of it, so we're something else as well. But there are some dark identities that are out there. Who created Cern and where that information comes from, I don't know, but the Galactic Federation has mentioned something about it. And so that means that the Galactic Council didn't bring it. They're not part of it, but they're throwing a warning to it. Apparently, when these two particles, it's the most powerful particle collider in the world. And when the two particles collide, creates a vortex or a portal. And this portal is where the galactic, or the the extraterrestrials and those who are at Cern can communicate and I guess cross over, because what the Galactic Federation has said is that they are giving us technology in exchange of children. Now you may ask, what do extraterrestrials want with children? And one thing I do know is that they do not have reproductive systems. They have to take DNA and from two, and then everything is made in a much like a test tube baby. Much like what you would, I guess this goes back to Hollywood and some of the movies they've made of, what is it, The Matrix? Because we live in a matrix, by the way. I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to this. But that is what this is, what Cern is doing. And apparently, I guess there's going to be truth coming out. I can't remember if this was something that Ashtar had mentioned, if this information was going to be coming out. But the missing children that nobody can ever seem to find, and year after year after year, we're exchanging for technology. So just to let you know that there is this is pretty crazy, the lies and everything that have been going on over the years. So having said that, now I'm going to cut this video. So anyway, look forward to seeing you over in part 2 of the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and also go ahead and like the video, and look forward to seeing you over there then. Bye.